open inventory of positions, but don't mix it. Okay, and the reason we go with order flow is because order flow data is instant. It gives you demand and supply in the next tick. The open interest data is 3 minutes delayed, and that 3 minute is got a lot of pressure added to it, right? In 3 minutes an option price can move from 20 to 60, and you will not even know why it happened, right? If you're tracking open interest, it will just randomly give you a snapshot after the next third minute. But in order flow, you can see it as it happens, right? So yeah, you are an open interest trader, fine, I get it, but always give priority to order flow data today. And we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP is volume weighted average price, what is VPOC? Now VPOC is simply the volume point of control, or in short, the area where the largest concentration of volume is on a volume profile chart. So there is a distinction we make at VTrender when it comes to volume. 90-95% of traders, when they look at volume below the price bar. At VTrender, what we do is we focus on volume right next to the price bar, and we also focus on.
So why does that happen? That is happening because we have limit orders and we have market orders. Limit orders are orders which are
today, and we're going to be talking about specific use cases of the options market, right? So if VWAP.
So why does that happen? That is happening because we have limit orders and we have market orders. Limit orders are orders which are put in the system, and people have just selected the level they want to enter and they put their order there and they sit back. Market orders are orders which are being executed in live market because something is changed in the market. So everyone wants to get into the market as early as possible. So they're trying to get into the market at whatever price they can get into. So those are the market orders. Obviously, when you have a lot of market orders happening, the auction would move faster and the volumes also would be on the higher side. Good evening, everyone. A quick sound check. Am I audible? Great. So let's start today's session. We are talking about the failed auction, which is a very important concept in market profile. And it gives us a very good swing reference most of the times. So what is a failed auction? So failed auction happens when the market is trying to move in one direction and then it stalls, and then that failure of that move is taken advantage by the opposite party, and they then move the auction in their direction. So we have a old chart on screen, and you can see how the initial balance, which is the A and B period, the first hour is called the initial balance in market profile, and how this DTPO just moves higher and immediately gets rejected. How do we know it has got rejected? Because we don't have any other TPO other than D, and D is also made a just minor range extension higher and come back into the IB, after which E remained inside the IB, and then we went on to break below the IBL, the first hour low. So this is a failed auction. Once the market makes an attempt to probe in one direction, fails, and then breaks the other end of the initial balance. So that is what a failed auction is. And from failed moves, we get fast moves. So failed auction gives us some important references, and we can also have some important objectives based on the failed auction. So let us now see where we had the failed auction yesterday, because we had failed auction in both Nifty futures and Bank Nifty futures yesterday. For guys who are wanting to read more about the failed auction, we have a very good article on our website which you can go through. I have just posted the link for that. And let us now get to the business end. So we have the Nifty futures profile chart on screen, and I am showing just yesterday's profile for now. Then we'll move on to what happened today. So yesterday we opened inside previous day's range and value. We made an attempt to probe lower. You can see the A open was here, and then we made lower lows in the B, after which we made this C side extension to the upside. We broke the initial balance higher, and we could not sustain. We got back inside the initial balance. So how do you validate a failed auction? The first condition for a failed auction to be valid is the extension should not stay more than 30 minutes outside the initial balance. So this extension which we had in the C, although the D also did make a higher high above the IBH, the time it stayed outside the initial balance was less than 30 minutes. So after which what happened was we went on to break below the IBL in the ITPO. But here again, we took support at previous day's VWAP and again got rejected. We have left a ITPO single over here. So although this C period high, which came at an important reference of this anchored VWAP from 1st of August, where this imbalance has started in Nifty futures. So this was a very important point because we have been getting supply in this zone right from the first day of this week, which was 5th of August, Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, and then again Wednesday, when we made an attempt to probe here, we were met with a rejection. So a failed auction at this point, the high yesterday we made in the seaside was 24398. So that was a failed auction, and ideally for a failed auction to remain active, it needs to stay outside the other end of the IB, which in this case was this IBL, which was 24229. So ideally we would have wanted the auction to close below this 24229 yesterday for us to for this failed auction to be in total control. But what happened into the close was we got a small spike. So what we did was, technically even this extension on the downside was rejected, and we went on to close above the IBH. So technically this also was a failed auction. So it was a very rare day where we had failed auctions on both ends of the Nifty futures profile. The upper end was at 24398 and the lower end was at 24209. And both of these references came at important points because this VWAP of Tuesday was being defended yesterday, and on the upside this anchored VWAP, which was a even more important reference because the main trend of the market is still on the downside. So as long as we remain below this anchored VWAP, we can say that the sellers will still want to push lower. So this was the context for yesterday. We had a neutral profile, and at the close we had failed auction at both ends. Even this failed auction was standing because it was not negated. We were not able to get above this failed auction. So this 24398 was still a valid reference. So when we get a failed auction uh, on any day, that failed auction of course would be one reference for us to take carry forward for the next day. and the other reference would be the level because of which the failed auction is been active. So in this case, for this 24209 failed auction to remain active in the morning today, the auction had to remain above this 24359 IBH of yesterday. And same thing for this 24398 failed auction to be in play, we had to stay below this 24229 reference today. So what we do is we have these references marked out before the market opens, and then we see what the order flow is showing us when the market opens, and accordingly we look for trade setups. So let us see what happened today. And just before we go to today's profile, I'll just want to tell you the how we calculate the objectives. So for this failed auction at the top 24398, the 180R move, the average true range of the last 15 days, or you can take any average true range. It can be a 5-day, 7-day, 14-day. I personally take the 15-day average, and that 180R on the downside was coming to 24121. So that was the objective for this failed auction. Whereas on the lower, that the failed auction of 24209, we had a target of 24485. So for both of these targets to be in play, the auction should have remained for the lower one uh, of the lower FA to be in play. We had to sustain above this IBH level, and for the upper FA to be in play, we had to sustain below this 24229 level. So that was our homework before the market opened today. And what we did today was, I'll just go on to the order flow chart. We are looking at the 30-minute order flow chart of Nifty futures. This is of yesterday. So we've seen the market profile chart, and let us see the order flow chart now. So what we did was, yesterday we did the typical seaside extension, and we have been saying how we don't trust the seaside and we do not consider the seaside to be a valid extension, and we wait for more confirmation after the seaside is done, in way of the next TPO making a higher extension, which did not happen yesterday. So this seaside extension left an FA when we broke the IBL in this I period. But here you can see, when we broke the IBL, we got a good RB. So we got greens in the order flow yesterday. So this is what held us back to take long puts when we saw this in the order flow chart yesterday. Otherwise, if we would have got selling when this IBL broke, we would have loaded ourselves with put for that 180R objective on the downside. So because of order flow, we knew that this is an RB bar. So hence we should not be looking to take any short trades till the time we sustain below this IBL and get some sell side volumes. You can see how we have zeros on the sell side. We have a good 1494 buyer at the VWAP of previous day. So these references are important, and we definitely watch order flow to show us what supply and demand is doing at that particular reference. So when we saw this good RB coming in, we held back to our short trades. And then what happened was, we got an RB plus IB, and then we went on to probe above VWAP, and we went on to close above the IBH. So we had an FA here and we had an FA here. So this is how order flow helped us yesterday not to take a short position in spite of a FA being confirmed at the top. So how do we treat the FA on uh, the concurrent days? So keep it very simple. Below the FA we are bearish, and above the FA we are bullish. And this can be failed auctions at any position, because both these FAs were important references for us today. So we would not have been ultra bullish till the time we would have taken off this FA at top. And same thing for downside. If we would have not broken this 24209, we would not have been too bearish. So, but break of this would uh, turn us to be a seller. We would have looked for more, say, order flow confirmation on the 3-minute charts and go on the downside, and vice versa on the higher FA. So that is how we look at FA, and we keep a tag, and we focus whenever the auction is coming near any FA point to see what the order flow is showing us. So how did we open today? What happened today? Let us have the market profile chart first, and then we'll move on to the order flow chart of today. So today's open, I'll split this chart and open up the volume profile. Today's open, as you can see, was lower. So we were nowhere above this IBH. So very clearly this FA was not in play at the open because we opened below this IBH. In fact, in case we would have opened above this, then we would have looked for a negation of this failed auction and then the 24485 objective. But because we were below this, this was more considered to be that we are going to test this FA and we will need to see what the order flow shows us when it comes there. So then the opening bar remained below yesterday's VWAP and POC. We also had a small seaside extension higher, which in fact gave us a break below VWAP, but we could not get below the RB of B period. I'll come to the order flow chart and I'll show you how we got a big green at the break of the 24209. And just like yesterday, how order flow showed us RB, even the break of 24209 today was on an RB bar. So that was also holding us. We could not get too bearish when the 24209 level broke for the first time today. So then what we have done is we went on to probe higher, and then this G period we made these new highs, and you can see how the new highs stalled right at this IBH level. So we already had this reference for today. When it is stalling at this IBH level, it is telling you that this FA is still in play. So what we were looking for, and I'll show you how clean it was in the order flow. In the order flow, we got very good signals when we made those highs in the G period, and then the break of this the inability of getting above this IBH meant that this FA was not able to force its way to the upside. So then eventually what happened, we went on to break the 24209 again in the H period, and this time when we broke, we went on to complete that 180R target of 24121 from this failed auction. So this is what we did today. We had a neutral extreme profile to the downside, where the upside got tagged, just got stalled just below the IBH of previous day, and this FA was still in very much in play. So that FA went on to then complete the first objective of 24121, and that happened in the closing minutes. So I'll just come to the order flow chart and we'll take it TPO by TPO. We'll see first what happened in the A and B. So you can see how we opened lower below previous day's VWAP and POC. So in all cases, the open was not at all bullish, but the low in A period we made was at 24216. So we were looking as if this FA would take support, but what happened, we broke that support with zeros in the order flow. But then we got this big green 3503 green, and this became a RB bar, responsive buying pattern. So which is why we were not too bearish at this point, because this buyer had kind of stalled the down move. Else if we would have remained below this POC, the close would have been below this POC, we could have looked for that 180R target. So but and then what we happened, we swiped uh, both sides in the C and D, but on 30 minutes we were still not able to close below that FA point of 24209. You can see the close was always above the 24209 level, and this POC, the buyer who had come in, which thanks to the order flow we were aware about that, was holding that downside at least for the time being. What we saw then was a short covering move. We got back above VWAP, and the F and G period we made those new highs. So you can see how this F was definitely an IB bar where we got good caught, and we got a POC right in the middle. We got some good greens. So it was looking very bullish. But then what happened is we stalled right at this IBH level. And you can see when we made this bar, we have got a trifecta of reds in the order flow on 30 minutes. So we have spoken about how this trifecta of reds or greens coming at one important reference are giving lot of weightage. So when we got this, it was very clear that this is being defended. So a break of this low or break of this POC, the IB POC, was definitely a short for today with the stop loss above the highs of the G period. So what we in fact went on to do was in the H period made a big red bar, And again, you can see how we have got zeros at VWAP. We have broken below VWAP, and then we have negated this responsive buying of morning. And after that, you can see how we closed below that POC for the first time on 30 minutes, and then we remained below VWAP and went on to just missed that 180R in this 115 bar. But then in the close, we went on to tag that. And after this, you can see how these zeros of the order flow bar was holding the upside. And this was where the VWAP also was. So with VWAP being a reference, definitely we were looking for that 24121 to be uh, hit, and that is what happened into the close, and we got the target. So this is how we look at failed auction, and we look combine the failed auction references with the order flow and look for probable trades in that direction. So into the close, what we have seen today is the court has turned green, but we are not too bullish as of now, because what these greens are telling us, this is booking of shorts. Plus we have closed at the lower end, and we are below both the FA points. The 24209 FA also has got been negated, and we have even closed below that. So definitely we are not bullish at this point. Even though the cottage green, we have not seen sellers adding at these lower levels. We are not looking at a gap up kind of a scenario, which was the case couple of days back when the cot was green and we were closing around the above the VWAP, and we were looking for a higher open. So today's cot, although it is green, the 10 bar cot is green, and even the cot on the last 30 minutes, 30 minutes bar are green. It is more of responsive activity. The shorts are booking profits, because you can see all these signals are RB bars on 30 minutes, and even the 3-minute IB bar came in the very last 3-minute bar. So that is not considered to be a valid one, because that has to be uh, validated by time. So just like how yesterday we had that big spike close, and that was not validated because we opened much lower today. So that is the reason we are not taking that 3-minute IB bar also too seriously for tomorrow's open. So we may well be able to go higher, because the shorts have booked and they may probe higher to again come back in. But this scenario for longs is definitely not there. So this is this was what we had for the Nifty futures, the failed auctions, both the failed auctions of yesterday as well as the order flow chart. So before I move on to the Bank Nifty exam FA of yesterday, in case there are any queries, please feel free to post them. We will take a pause and answer those queries and then move forward. Balaji had a question which has already been answered. Responsive buying, RB bars tell us that the business, this is old business, so it is not uh, buyers who are coming in. If it was fresh buying which is happening, we would have got an IB after the RB bar. So just like how we got yesterday, we got this RB bar and then we got this IB bar. So this is telling you that this is now fueled by buyers. Only RBs will tell you it is only shorts covering. Any other queries, guys? Before I move on to show you the Bank Nifty failed auction of yesterday and how the order flow was showing us yesterday and today. And then I'll give you two good examples of what trades we took in the room today. One was of the 24,000 call, and the second was 24,400 put. Ketan has a question: from which point we calculate the target? The targets are calculated from the failed auction point, the FA point. So in Nifty futures, the 180R downside from 24398 was coming to 24121, which we hit at the close today. Fine. So let's move on to the Bank Nifty profile chart. And like Nifty's, let us just study yesterday's profile and see how where we got the failed auction and what references we had to take for today's auction. So we have yesterday's Bank Nifty profile and yesterday's open. We have been forming a balance on both Nifty and Bank Nifty we have been in Monday's range, and Bank Nifty more so has been coiling. And today was the RBI day, so it was expected that yesterday would have been a inside bar and a narrow range day, because just before event, generally the Bank Nifty does not do much. But what it did yesterday was, in the probe lower, it made the seaside down. We saw a seaside on the upside yesterday in Nifty futures, and we can see how Bank Nifty did the total opposite. But here, what we can see is we stopped short just above this POC, VPOC of 49923. This was an important reference, because what it was telling us on Tuesday close was that the sellers who had entered on Monday and Tuesday were booking profits. So when we get that information, uh, that the shorts are booking out, we will need to have that reference to be broken by fresh selling, or we would have to see selling coming back at higher levels. So yesterday we did open higher and we saw selling coming back. We can see this HVN at 5350, where the sellers came in and they probed lower. And we were expecting this VPOC to get tagged. But what happened was, we made marginal new lows in the CP rate. So it was indicating that this POC is being defended, and we had a probable FA in the C side. So although most of the time we were inside the IB and did not do much, we were forming a narrow range balance. The closing TPOs, the L and M, made a spike move, and we closed above this IBH. So this close above the IBH gave us a failed auction at these lows, which was 49950. So, and but also what we saw was the POC was here, but again we had a VPOC, HVN on the upside also. So just like how I mentioned, 49950 being the FA, we wanted the auction to stay above this IBH level of 5375. So in case it remained above this 5375, then we would have our 180R target of 5646 on the upside as our objective for the day. But for that, we would need order flow to show us that demand is adding up at higher levels. So here, what I'll do now is I'll switch on to the order flow chart of yesterday in Bank Nifty, and we can see how we opened higher and we got selling RS, and then we went on to probe lower, and how the C side made a marginal new low. 49957 was the B period low, the IBL, and then we made a marginal new low in the C period, 49950. So from there, the POC also shifted lower, and then we got this IB bar late in the K period, and then we went on to close above this IBH. So this 49950 was a failed auction, and for it to remain in play for the target on upside, we would need the auction to remain above this 5375 IBH for the open today. So definitely we were looking at being bullish as long as Bank Nifty stays above this 49950. And what happened today was, let us go to the profile chart first. So we opened below this IBH. So at the open, that is the reason we are not too bullish, because we were not able to sustain above this IBH for this FA to be in play. And what we went on to do is, we went on to make new lows in the B period, but these lows stopped just short of the FA point. So here we know that the FA, if it's being defended, then we can look for a probable long side trade here. And then we went on to get about this IBH. We made a range extension to the upside, and then we went on to even get about this 5375. And but the G period made a high of 50537, which was also the third 3 standard deviation of today. So you can see this. So at these points, we would want to book profit and trail our longs in case we are long. So these are important references where we will need the order flow to show us some uh, demand adding. But if that is not happening, then we would be circumspect of remaining long. So let us go to the order flow chart of today. Okay, before going to the order flow chart, so what we did was, after that G period high, we went on to probed back into the IB and made a NV, normal variation day, with tails at both ends. So what we have in Bank Nifty is a 4-day balance. So it is looking good for a move away from here, from this zone, in the coming weekly settlement, and this FA and this POC would be our base for that move coming in. So coming to the order flow chart, so we can see how the open today was below this IBH, and then we got more reds here, and we went on to in fact form a IS bar also on the 30 minutes. But then you can see how the lows were being defended at this FA point. So we're not able to break below that FA. So as I said, we become bearish below the FA, and above the FA we are bullish. So we were not here on the higher end. Yes, we could have gone short, but unless this FA would have broken with new selling, new supply coming in, we would not have been too bearish on Bank Nifty. So as I was mentioning, the order flow then did not show us in any break of that FA, and then we got back above VWAP, and we went on to make higher highs on the 30-minute TPOs. But this G period was where in fact this F, when we made these higher highs, was happening on red card. So that itself was a sign that the sellers are adding in this zone up. So it was very important for this POC and this VWAP to hold. This was also matching with this IBH level, which was at 5391,375 of yesterday. So as I said, we have zeros at this order flow. So we saw how the zeros in the Nifty futures held. That was to the downside. So for Bank Nifty to remain bullish for that 5646 target, we had to stay above this 5506. So the break of 5506 for us was a fresh shot for at least a test of VWAP of today. And the stop loss would have been this G period high, because we have got a good RS bar here, and we have seen this Bank Nifty futures going up on red card. So once we negated these zeros, you can see how we never came back above that, and we went on to test the VWAP. And that is how the order flow saved us to come out of longs once this POC and this VWAP of the FTPO broke. So if this would have stayed, if we would have got an RB bar here, and then we would have got some IBs, then we would have gone on to look for long calls in Bank Nifty futures. So this is how we look for order flow and combine it with the references. The failed auction references, I've already given the details how we take them and how we mark the levels, and we look at that IBH or IBL level which needs to be sustained also on order flow, whether we are able to hold that level or not. So the coming back to Bank Nifty, as I said, we were still in a balance mode, and we have closed right in the middle today. So that FA would still be a reference, just like the FA and the top on Nifty futures. And we will have to take off one of these FAs in the coming sessions, and both Bank Nifty and Nifty will have to be in sync for us to get a trending move in one direction. So that is about the order flow and FA part of Bank Nifty futures. In case there is any questions, you can please feel free to post before I show you those option examples, then we can wind up for today. Sandeep wanted to see the entry and exit and stop loss. So I will show you that in the options example which we are taking. So you can have a look at that, and you can see how we use that. And nothing better than showing the latest examples, and we will have a look at that too. Yash has a question about how to use the 10 bar caught in live market. We use two time frames, Yash. We have the 30-minute and the 3-minute. So we look at order flow signals of both 30 minutes and 3-minute, and the 30-minute, the 10 bar caught also of both. So in case we are looking to go long in the market, we want the 10 bar caught to be green, to be supporting that long setup. And then we would want the order flow also to show us IBs, initiative buying signals. So that is how we use the 10 bar cot in sync with the order flow signals. 10 bar cot is not a standalone indicator. It has to be used in sync with the other order flow signals which we use. Shiva has a question. Weekly FA negation. Yes, it has already been done, Shiva. I had spoken about that in the Monday session, and we have already tagged the 280R target of that negated weekly FA. 180R, once we in market profile, we always look at objectives. So whenever we are looking at a fresh imbalance to start, we need to measure it. We need to measure it so that we are able to take trades in that direction. I will give you an example of how that target of 24121 was giving us the objective in the 24,400 put. So that is the reason we have that 180R and 280R. And as and when the references keep getting sustained, we look for the further probable targets. So for example, we remain below the 180R tomorrow, which was 24121, then we will look for the 280R to the downside, which would be 23844. So that is how we will take it. But for that, in order flow, order flow will have to show us supply below 24121. So let's move on to the interesting part. In options table, I am first showing you the option chart of 24,000 call. We already have seen what happened in Nifty futures today, and we saw how we got that big buyer, and then we formed a uh, balance after that big buyer came in for most of the period. So here you can see how for the first time in the day, we have got that IB plus IB signal in this call option. This is the 24,000 call. And we have spoken about how we have the 10 bar rule. Not the we have the 10 bar rule in COT also. We have this 10 bar rule in the order flow signals also. So in case we are getting same signals, IB plus IB or an IS plus IS inside 10 bars, that is giving us more confirmation that this is a very good trade to be taken. So here what we are seeing is the 1133 we got, and these IBs are coming right at the VWAP. So in options, whenever we are getting IBs at VWAP, initiative buying signals at VWAP, it is very clear that it can give you good momentum on the upside. So here we formed this RB and we got this IB, and then we got this second IB in the 1148 bar. So once we get this IB plus IB confirmation, as per our process, we have a trade setup where we take a long position at this close. So the close was around 240, and our stop loss would have been the POC of the bar before the first IB. So this 194 would have been our stop loss. So this was an ideal setup which was there today in this call. And this was also defending that move that we got a big RB at the 24209, and now the auction is trying to probe higher. So once we have taken this trade, our targets would be measured by the either the 1:1 uh, ratio, because 240 minus 194 is around 45 points. So 285 would be our first objective on the upside, and then 320 would be the second objective on the upside. So here you can see how we got this third IB right before the GP rate started. So this got, not only hit the first but the second objective also, and 300 was a reference in this call, because this was it was the previous day's VWAP. So here when we got above the 300 level and the POC of this bar, this IB bar was at 300, this 300 became our trailing stop loss, and definitely part book the longs, and the break of this 300 would have negated the upside. So that is what happened. We remained above this POC for some time, but once we got this IS bar and then we broke below this, the upside was clearly over in this option. So this is a 3-minute order flow chart, and we can see how the IBs gave us a long signal, it gave us the target, and then how this IS told us that the upside is done. And as you can see, this RS plus IS held all day, and from this 340 level, this uh, call went on to go drop down to 100, I think. So here again you can see how this IS at VWAP with zeros in the order flow is a very good sell side signal in this option. So this is telling us that you need to be on the short side as long as it is below VWAP. And this is how you can see how after that RS plus IS we have only got IS bars, and we have broken below VWAP. Once we have broken below VWAP, we've remained below VWAP throughout the day, and in fact we went on to tag this VWAP in the K period, but here again we stalled right at the VWAP. So this, in fact, the K period gives us very good re-entry. So we are very alert in the K period, and this bar, this order flow signal where you are stalling right at VWAP is telling you that it is uh, the PLR is still on the downside. If we would have got an IB bar at VWAP here, as I mentioned, as I showed in the morning bars, we would have looked for more upside, and we would have looked for any writing which had come in this option to have started covering. But you can see we remained below the VWAP, and we went on to make new lows into the close. So this is how we look at the order flow chart of options and take trades based on the structure. So here we, from the G period, we already knew that the auction is turned downside. So this is the 24,400 put chart. I'll show you the line chart first. And I'll show you the line chart. So you can see how this 173 was yesterday's VWAP, and how we were staying above yesterday's VWAP for the first half today. And then we had this big break in the G period. I'll show you the order flow chart also, and we broke below yesterday's VWAP. In fact, I was even talking about this in the room. That break of yesterday's VWAP was getting some big writing in this put, and you can see the spikes also was green. It was big green here, and you can see the OI climbing from 41,000 to 81,000. It almost doubled up. So we can see how the writers had come in, and right there in the G period itself, the POC shifted to the downside, which is at 116. So this is what we look for on expiry days, that late writers, how they can get trapped. And this was a very classic case, and we got that confirmation of that failed auction not being able to be taken out in Nifty futures. And this put was a classic Dukan trade today, because all of these writers got trapped very badly, and this POC which shifted lower gave us a very good setup. I'll show you the order flow chart, and this is that period of 1212 bar which I was talking about. So we were below this VWAP. We were below this VWAP, but the break of the yesterday's VWAP of 173, you can see how we have got zeros right at that level in this 1212 bar. So here you what we see is, we can see how the OI is increasing and the COT is red. So this is also confirming us that the writers are adding here. And at the end of the G period, you can see how the POC shifted lower. POC shifting lower means it is a warning for the writers, either book out or trail your entries. And this POC of 170 and that VWAP of previous day of 173 became the upside reference. So as long as it remained above that, all these sellers would have held. But above this, all this OI which would have come in later would have been forced to come out. So here you can see how we just stopped at VWAP, and this bar, when we closed above VWAP, the 1254 bar, this was an ideal signal that now these writers would be in trouble. The order flow is showing us an IB bar at this put at 1254. So you can take the POC before this IB bar, which is 159 as your stop loss, and enter at the close of this bar and just hold on. So what would have been our target for this? Because the FA of upside was active, and we went on to break the 24209 level in the H period, that reference of 280 in that put was always on, because that would have matched with that 24121 objective from the FA point. So you can see how we went on to tag that 280, and you can see how we have seen RS forming there. So this is perfectly setting up for our target, and we'll clearly book profits here. And if you want to trail, you can trail some with the cost or at the zeros of this 200 level. So we went on to make new highs, no doubt. But then you can see how at this 280, 290 zone, the auction always used to stall, because that 24121 was the objective, and it continued to make highs only around that zone, 289, 290 zone. So this is how we look at the options. And once the trade is done, then you look for a fresh setup. So once that objective was done, you can see we are only getting IS bars in this put also. So then you know that the move which was there has been over. And see, even into the close, we closed right at the 290 level. We are not able to make higher highs, even though Nifty futures wise we were making, because anyways today was the settlement, so it would have closed as per the spot price. So these were the two examples of today which we saw and which we traded also. So this is how we mix the order flow charts. We look for signals, entry, stop loss, everything is there in the order flow chart. So you just need to wait for the right setup, and once it plays out, everything is clear. I showed you two examples in both call and put for today. So any queries, guys? So you can please shoot them, and that is it from my side for today. I hope this was a good learning session for all of you, and we hope to keep building up uh, in this manner. So in case anyone has any queries, please feel free to ask them. How did you, Karthik has a query. He's asking, how did you select the 24,000 call for the trade? We have something called the spectrum in the option suite of Vitrender charts. So generally, I tend to select the lower end of the spectrum for the call and the upper end of the spectrum for the put. So 24,000 was the lower end of the spectrum today. So I was looking at that call. So in options, we want to make as much as premium we can get, because futures wise, anyways, we get only half of what the futures moves. So we would want to be deep in the money in options so that we are able to get more out of it, because the signals give us very good entries and exits. So when we know that the trade is in our favor, we would definitely want to milk it. Profit booking, what is that? How do we find out if it is profit booking or new demand? I already mentioned responsive buying is telling us it is old business. So if it is new business, new buying, that responsive buying has to be followed by a initiative buying. So what we saw in the call, what we saw in the call at 11:30 today was a RB plus an IB signal. So this was an RB and this was an IB. So RB plus IB, any time frame you're trading in, any order flow chart you're looking at, you want to see IBs. If you are getting IBs, it is telling you that initiative buying is coming in. So new demand will definitely show you IB signals in order flow, and then the demand will take you above the VWAP of that day. Balaji has a question about what is the outlook for tomorrow. Balaji, both have formed a nice 4-day balance. Already mentioned that, and we will post it in our weekly report. The high post for spot as well as the daily report will be published tonight. So it will have you well prepared for what we are expecting tomorrow. So guys, this is what we do at VMR. We look at the latest information which the market is giving us, and as per the latest information, we look to monetize and take trades. So which is why the order flow is such a powerful tool and combined with the market profile concepts. So today we showed you the example of field auction and how the order flow and field auction gave us some good setups. So if you are more keen to do this on a daily basis, do think about joining the VTrender mentorship room. We 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 are a group of like-minded traders who come together daily in this virtual trading room and look at the charts and take trades and keep discussing about the probabilities and what is happening. And then also we also have an audio session at 10:30 which discusses the open type and the probable setup for the day. So the link for the VMR has already been mentioned. In case you have any queries about what we have covered today or any other session, you can DM me on X. My X IDs are Tuttam Goel. I would be happy to clear your queries. So, and we will look look to take it forward the coming week about how this weekly structure is shaping and how we can how the independence weekly settlement can shape up in both. Yes, Shiva, we will post the Nifty futures report also. Thank you guys then. Thank you for joining in, and let's catch up the coming week with yet another informative session on market profile and order flow. Thank you all. Signing off for now.